Okay.
You should get one of those things.
Here we go. So, this is the first episode of the Evviva podcast, and Carson's shoes are already off.
Oh, that stings.
I imagine this being some interesting information having to do with CrossFit, and then probably some sciencey stuff having to do with CrossFit as well. So we might talk about, like, for example, today we're going to talk about lactic acid.
Bro science.
I, Spencer, will be teaching Carson, who's the first guest on the podcast, about cellular metabolism and the mechanisms involved in what makes your muscles burn while you are exercising. And then we'll probably talk about some other stuff as well at the end there, so it's not all boring science stuff, but we'll try and keep it under 45 minutes. So Carson just got here. He drove a cement truck.
You're thinking about that joke all day long.
I have been. I asked Carson to be on the podcast last night, and he said, okay, let's talk about concrete, but you better not say I drive a cement truck.
It's a concrete truck.
It's a concrete truck, folks. If you see one of those big spinning trucks, that is a concrete truck.
In case you're curious.
A cement truck.
If anybody wants a good workout, pour concrete. It's a good time.
Pour concrete is what he says. Okay, well, I asked Carson to do some homework. I said, bring something interesting having to do with CrossFit that you saw recently, whether it's on social media or anything having to do with CrossFit or fitness.
And I came with a lot of things that I couldn't pick which one I wanted to do.
Okay.
But I do have one that I thought was kind of interesting that I saw last night. Am I supposed to discuss that?
Yes, okay. Go ahead. Discuss it.
So I saw Tia Claire Toomey, because she's my favorite CrossFitter besides Josh Bridges. She posted last night. I didn't really read the caption. I was just watching her mostly cycle a barbell that probably had 135 pounds on it. And she was smiling the whole time, which I thought was interesting because for most of us, for those of you who are on the CrossFit Evviva Facebook page, Spencer did a photo dump last night, and I don't think there was a single person smiling the entire time when they were cycling barbells or doing any sort of barbell work. It was a lot of ugly faces, hardworking faces. But anyways, I just thought that was interesting because it was a little video that she posted about getting ready for the Rogue Invitational or whatever's coming up, the competition the Rogue's putting on. Anyways, she was getting ready for it, and she was, doing some hype video. And I thought it was hilarious that she was just smiling the entire time rather than, looking like she was going to die like the rest of us. But I guess that's why Tia's who she is and has won as many titles as she has.
135 would be like guys doing, like 205?
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think that you like Josh Bridges because you guys are both similar in stature?
If you're talking about short and built like kind of a milk jug, yes.
So do you think that Jacob Hepner would also beat you in a fight?
Probably.
Okay.
I'm not really a fighter.
Carson and I once fought, and
it was more of a wrestling match.
We wrestled and I won, and there was no alcohol involved. First of all, as a disclaimer.
Is this what's the rating of this podcast? Is it like a G?
This
PG?
is going to be PG-13.
So we can discuss alcohol.
No.
Okay.
It's health related.
Okay, so
this is health and science related.
We were off of the kombucha. We'd been drinking kombucha. I had been
a health drink
packed full of probiotics that makes your stomach feel great the next day. And what Spencer is discussing is complete and utter nonsense. But I don't really remember what happened because I was so focused on the amount of kombuchas I was drinking that sometimes you kind of forget. But that's okay.
My piece of interesting news, and this is kind of interesting that Carson chose something sort of having to do with the Rogue Invitational.
Not that we talked about this yesterday.
Is that the Rogue Invitational, which is a CrossFit competition, it's a very big one, is using, I think they said in their Instagram caption, ticket sales for the event, but then also Bitcoin as the prize. So I was watching a video with Justin Medeiros in it, and he was talking about how he's getting excited because the price of Bitcoin recently has been going up. I think originally Rogue had invested like $1 million of their prize purse into Bitcoin, and now that prize purse, upon posting the Instagram post, which I saw, was up at $1.8 million. That's a big payout, and I think it's interesting because I've heard other people in sports, specifically there's an athlete, I don't remember who, in the NFL who negotiated part of his contract in Bitcoin. So it'll be interesting to see. I don't know exactly how Bitcoin works with respect to like taxes and how you would report that, and if these are like well-known people and like publicly disclosed like prize winnings being awarded in Bitcoin, it'll be interesting to see how like the IRS would handle something like that, because obviously the whole point is for the currency to be decentralized and for the government not to know what you're spending money on or receiving money for. However, if it's someone handing you a check that says, here's your Bitcoin for winning a competition, I don't know how the IRS would not want a little piece of that for Uncle Sam. So that's my interesting thing with CrossFit. It's a little bit more about Bitcoin, I guess, but it's related to CrossFit to some extent. So, yeah.
How long do you think they'll let, because obviously Bitcoin is on the rise again, as it does. How long do you think they're going to wait until they like cut it off and say this is the actual prize purse? Do you think they'll wait until the day before the competition, or do you think they'll let it ride?
So I don't know how that's working. I don't know if the Rogue is managing a cryptocurrency wallet, which they will then cash out for like USD, which they're going to then give to the athletes during like the prize winnings or the ceremony or whatever, or if they will just be awarding the athletes Bitcoin, which would involve the athletes having to like set up a Coinbase wallet or some other wallet where they could receive Bitcoin, but then they would be receiving the actual coin itself and not just the money. And so that'll be interesting. I wonder if maybe Rogue will just let them decide. Who knows? Want. Maybe Rogue is seriously investing in Bitcoin, and they might pay out in cash for the value of the Bitcoin, but they might be holding
the actual Bitcoin
themselves as
that's kind of smart,
as an investment, like a long-term investment. So that'll be interesting. I don't know exactly how that's working, but all they said with the Instagram post was like, our prize purse is bigger now because the price of Bitcoin has gone up, and so I think the prize purse has increased over $500,000 just due to Bitcoin's price increasing. So, anyways,
we should just go do SARMs and then sneak into the
win some money.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure some of them are doing.
Then we could finally get
SARMs.
the pool at CrossFit Evviva that I've been wanting. That's all right.
Carson wants a pool here at CrossFit Evviva.
I think it would really.
I told him it was not a good investment for me to make.
I think it's a great investment because it would help with our hydrotherapy for when we get injured from.
We're gonna get a sauna before we get a pool.
Oh God, I would love a sauna.
All right, well, let's move on to the science stuff.
Oh no.
Why do your muscles burn? And most people
muscles burning right now.
Most people say, "Oh my gosh, my muscles they burn." Ow. Why are they burning so much? Oh, well, it's the lactic acid. It turns out that is false. Yeah, it's not lactic acid. So, I actually need to pull up my little cheat sheet here because I had to do some review.
You need like a super producer, like somebody who's just in the corner.
I know. I need someone. We're going to put a TV up and make this like the Joe Rogan show. I could just have them put it up on the TV for us.
And I can ask you questions like, have you ever done like drugs? And have you ever thought about space?
Yeah. We could talk about aliens.
Oh, we could get weird.
We could have Alex Jones on the podcast.
Oh, wow. I don't even know who that is, but...
He's a conspiracy theorist.
Oh, God. I love it.
So, anyways, I did my undergrad in biology and chemistry, and so this is a lot of stuff from my biochem class, which I had to
And I did not.
review because I didn't remember quite a lot of it, and I might butcher some of this because a lot of it came back to me as I reviewed for this, but some of it's a little so. If there's anyone listening, which I doubt there is, who's like, just a savant in biochemistry and I get it wrong, then you can totally let me know and I'll address it in the next episode. But basically, there is a myth, and it's that lactic acid is what's causing the burn in your muscles. It's not lactic acid. What happens is your body, it needs to create this thing called ATP, and it uses ATP to do stuff, to fire muscle contractions or to contract a muscle. It requires ATP. It's, in the analogy that I'll be using, it's kind of like fuel for your car. It's kind of like gasoline for your car. And so, how do you get ATP into your body? Your body can make it, but it needs a fuel source, and it uses sugars and fats to make ATP. And so through this process called glycolysis, which translates roughly to the breakdown of sugar, and so this happens in your, I think primarily in your liver, but it can happen in your muscle cells as well. You are breaking down these carbohydrates to create ATP. And what will happen is there's this really long molecule, and it breaks one little sugar unit off at a time, and the chemistry happens. But basically, you could imagine as your cells are breaking this energy down, similar to when your car is burning a fuel source, there is like waste. There is excess waste. So like in your car, there's exhaust, and the human body during this process called glycolysis, there's this stuff called lactic acid,
Which is your exhaust.
which is like your exhaust. Now, what happens is typically, as long as you're not exercising too hard, your body is kind of producing this lactic acid or this lactate, and it can use that again as a secondary fuel source to feed back into the cycle. That's a gross oversimplification of what actually happens, but for the sake of our example, it would be like your car being able to collect its exhaust and use that to run the engine a little bit more.
Now,
A little bit more efficiently.
does the stuff that it recycles, the lactic acid that we're calling here, does that, once it's run through the system again, can it run through a third time? Like, does it just keep going, or?
So that's what we're going to talk about. So the whole thing is like a giant chemical equation. So you put one like little unit of sugar in there, or whatever it is, and it does the little chemical reaction, and it creates one little thing of lactic acid, which then that one little thing can be used, right?
Okay.
And it can go faster and faster and faster until you reach a certain point. And at that point, you are now no longer able to, your body is no longer able to keep up with how much exhaust you're making, with how much lactic acid you're making. So there's this increase in lactic acid. Now, the reason that it burns, though, is not from the lactic acid. What's happening is the chemical process to break the lactic acid down breaks this lactic acid up into two things. It breaks it up into lactate and a hydrogen ion.
Okay.
If you remember from chemistry class, hydrogen ions
I took chemistry for sure.
are
Passed it
what
4
makes things acidic. So something like lemon juice, for example, has a lot of hydrogen ions in it. Really strong acids that you would use in a chemistry lab are like very concentrated with protons with hydrogen ions. And so what's happening is when you're using the exhaust, you're breaking it up into two things, and you're using the lactate as a sugar, because a lactate is a sugar, it's a form of sugar, to run through glycolysis again. You're taking that other proton and using it for something else. You reach a certain point where you can't use that proton anymore. You're creating too many protons, and like you're getting this buildup of lactate and protons simultaneously.
So to stop you there, are those protons hydrogen-based protons? Like, are they like more acidic than the lactate? I don't know if that's like the right terminology.
Yes, so exactly. And so the reason it's called lactic acid is because it has that proton attached to it. And then when you go and break it apart, when your body cuts it, then you have the lactate, and then you have the proton.
And the proton's where all the acid is.
And the proton is the acid. That is what makes things acidic. So an increase as your body is now unable to break down the lactic acid to use, you can no longer, you're like having this increase in lactate and protons, and that lactate kind of just sits there. I'm not actually sure if that has a strong effect on your ability to do one thing or the other, but the increase in protons is what causes that burn to happen. I think that the reason this burn starts and then you immediately go to like, I need to slow down or I need to stop, is because your body being acidic is not a good thing. So if you've heard about you've probably heard like ads online for medicines that help with like diabetic ketoacidosis. Have you heard that term before?
I've heard ketoacidosis before.
So yeah, so ketoacidosis is just means that your body is getting acidic. Also, like typically when you see people go septic, which means that there's like an infection in their blood.
Mm-hmm. It's not good.
No, that's very bad. And what's happening, they have like these elevated lactate levels, and their blood gets acidic. And so we actually, when I was working with Dr. Gary Josephson in the emergency room, we looked it up, and these people who were coming in a lot of pain because they were septic, had certain blood lactate levels, I think over I forget what the unit is, but some arbitrary number, let's say for example it was like 3 or 4, I think, was like considered pretty bad in a clinical setting. They did some research, and people who are very gifted athletes who have the ability to push themselves really hard on something like an assault bike or a stationary bike can get their blood like acidity up to like 14.
Wow.
So like your body fully thinks it's about to die, which is why mentally I think part of that is like why it's so challenging to push through that really intense burning sensation, is because
you think you're gonna die.
Your brain doesn't know the difference between you having this going into septic shock or exercising really hard. So I'm sure that's part of it. Now you might think, okay, like that's cool, but like how do I fix that? How do I make things not burn as much?
Just slow down.
Right, slow down. Sure. So I actually did some research in preparation for this, and what you want to do is called lactate threshold training, which is where you're training at the point at which your body can just barely break down the lactic acid at the same rate that it's producing it. And that level is going to be different for everybody. But basically what happens is when you spend extended periods of time there, you increase the number of mitochondria.
Ooh, powerhouse of the cell. Let's go. I know that one.
So what's happening in the research that was done, I don't think it actually even had, it didn't even measure the number of mitochondria in the cell. It measured a gene marker for mitochondria production. And so this is a little bit of an extrapolation, and the article I can link, but basically what you could infer from this, or what is suggested, is that using this sort of like threshold training, where you're training right at where your things start to burn, but it's not so bad that you feel like you have to stop or it's overwhelming, will elicit a response in your body to say like make more mitochondria. And that's important because mitochondria is where this process is happening. This
the lactic split.
Yeah, like that whole metabolic cycle and pathway is happening in your mitochondria. Yeah. And so you can imagine like if each mitochondria in our example is a car, then if you wanted to be more powerful or be able to sustain for longer, you could just add more cars to your body, I guess.
It's like adding horsepower.
Right, it's like adding horsepower, exactly. So we're kind of breaking away from the analogy slightly there, but Yeah, so we're looking at like increasing the amount of mitochondria. Interestingly, the group that improved the most when they did the study was a group that did high intensity interval training.
Huh, that
Increased
sounds familiar.
Mitochondrial density, and they did an additional study, or a second part of the study, that found that weight training was also would show increases as opposed to non-weight trainers.
Also sounds familiar.
Would increase mitochondrial density. So I thought that was interesting because it's pretty much exactly what we do here. We do a little bit of lifting, and then we do pretty much high intensity interval training.
Yeah.
And that's what we do as CrossFitters, and increasing mitochondrial density. So that's how you mitigate the burn. And now, I was writing this, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, but like, dude, I work out and shit still hurts.
Right.
Like, it still burns. But things are burning, but I'm doing more work, right? And so, as like a measure of progress, I feel like if you're keen on like always improving, this feeling will be very familiar and persist through your entire athletic career.
Right.
Right, because like
the feeling of being sore and the feeling of being
right, and
the burning,
and having
sensation.
That burning sensation is always going to be there because you're always going to want to go faster. Now, if you took someone who maybe never worked out and you had them do CrossFit workouts, but each week you had them do the same workouts, the same CrossFit Metcon or whatever it is, and the first week they did it burned really badly, and they got like, say it was an AMRAP and they got 5 rounds. Well, if you just keep training them and they keep getting fitter and fitter, but each time you say, okay, just do 5 rounds, it's just going to get easier and easier for them. Like, it's not going to get harder, and then that burning sensation is going to go away, right? Because they've gotten fitter. Now, that doesn't mean that, I guess what I'm saying is that person has gotten fitter and they've increased probably mitochondrial density or like the efficiency of the enzymes in their cells so that they're no longer having this increase in protons and lactate buildup due to training faster than their body can
recover,
like flush waste basically,
which is what we call recovering, right?
Right, but if this person was like keen on improving consistently, then like they would probably experience the burn again if they tried to get say 6, 7, or 8 rounds in that same workout. So,
right. But that would be an improvement because
they're now doing more work over the same amount of time, which is
what we want.
Yeah, that's kind of what the point. So that is sort of like the little lesson on cellular metabolism there. So we need ATP and we produce it with glycolysis. Glycolysis makes waste, and one of the byproducts of this waste, both byproducts of the waste that is created by glycolysis can be used to make more energy. However, if we are burning through too much stuff in glycolysis, if we need it too fast, i.e. we work harder and harder and we outwork our ability to recover, then we get this buildup of lactate and protons, and that increase in proton density or concentration in our body is what causes the burning sensation.
So then my follow-up question is, what happens? So obviously, like we have all those, I can't remember what you called it, but the acid particles, the hydrogen.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a buildup of that. What flushes that out of our body? Is that like our liver, or how does that get out? Because obviously it has to be burned or flushed somehow.
Yeah, so I'm not entirely sure what the physiological process is for like residual leftover stuff.
The reason why I ask is because then it's, if you figure out how to get that out and you could speed that process up, then technically you'd be able to recover faster.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very layman's simplified
Sure.
way,
Yeah, and so it has been shown, from what I understand in the research, the very slim research I did last night in preparation for this, was that it used to be thought that lactic acid and the presence of protons is what would like really kind of create this like sensation of DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, which is what you get when you do a workout with a lot of thrusters, and it's like incredibly painful to walk the next day because your quads are so sore.
Like what we did on Monday.
Yeah. However, back in the 80s, a bunch of papers came out that just proved that. What's causing that is like micro tears in the muscle, which you can achieve with like solely weightlifting. It doesn't have to like include this like sort of like high intensity aerobic kind of like environment for your body. To go back to your other point of like where does it go? So like your body is like a giant chemical slosh trying to consistently balance itself out. Like it's always trying to balance itself out. So if say you like have this buildup of lactate and protons, and we know that your body can use those, but it can't use them when you're like trying to just like, you know, huff and puff and get this workout done. Right. And it's building up and it's creating this burning sensation. Well, when you finish, it's still there.
Correct.
So then what I assume happens, and I don't know this for sure, but typically this is the pattern that I experienced in my biochem class was like, everything's trying to achieve this like balance. So if you have this extra amount of lactate and protons, then the logical solution would be to just burn those first until you start burning the like tapping back into your blood sugar to like get your glycogen, I guess. And so like my answer would be that you would see your cells, or in our example, like the car, relying more on the exhaust at first until it reaches that like normalcy, where then it would go back to just using gasoline and then some exhaust. Right. So like you drive your car really, really fast. It can't really keep up, but it's got like this big balloon behind it full of exhaust that it knows it can use, but that process isn't super efficient, so it doesn't use it while you're doing your quarter mile, race or whatever. But now that your car is like just putzing around the race course after, it's like, okay, well now I don't need to use my gasoline quite as much. I'll like just deplete this giant bubble of like exhaust that I have left over. So I think that's what would probably happen. You would just, kind of like use this like residual proton and lactate concentration that you have, although I'm not entirely sure, so don't quote me on that.
That's fine. We can follow up.
But
again, this is where you could have a producer over there in the corner, like Googling all of these things.
Yeah, we need a science. We need Austin to come.
We do. Oh, he'd probably do it.
And Austin could just like do a little like quick and dirty research for us while we talk about science stuff.
He would love it. And then one other thing, going back to what you said in the very beginning, where you're talking about how you don't know if anybody's going to listen to this. You need to get Nappy to listen to this so that we can say that welcome to our viewers and listeners worldwide.
Worldwide. He is going to listen to it, so we have worldwide listenership, viewership.
We're getting Evviva outside the continental United States.
We are Mr. Worldwide.
We are. We're like Pitbull.
We are Pitbull. Okay, that's the science stuff, so that was good. I think that was like pretty... palatable.
That was informative.
Palatable enough. Kind of understand it. We've got a competition coming up.
We do.
Me, you, and Nathan Alpers. I tried to get him to quit his job to be on the podcast today. He wouldn't do it.
You could tell him to quit his job and come pour some concrete. And then, actually, he was talking to me about it the other day. He
wants to pour some crete?
God. He wants to get in the construction world, which I think he'd be awesome at because he is really good at CrossFit. And people who are really good at CrossFit, I've seen with the one other guy who does CrossFit that just started doing construction that I work with, are really good at keeping up with the pace that most
you need to go.
Bosses want to see.
Yeah.
So, Nathan, if you listen to this, dude, do it.
So I know the workouts. I know 2 of them.
Oh, okay. What are they? I'd love to hear.
We've got, I need to look up the second one. I already forgot what it was. But the first one is 4 rounds for time, 21 calorie echo bike, 15 double dumbbell thrusters with 50-pound dumbbells.
Oh, nice.
And 9 bar muscle ups.
Is this done as a partner or is
4 rounds for time? It's done, I think. I don't know, so that's what I was telling Nathan. I think that there's going to be a caveat in there where if you trade, like when you have a partner switch in, you're going to have to do something.
Oh, okay. So you tap in and then...
Yeah, like if you were riding the bike and you got to like 11 calories and you want me to do the last 10, we'd have to do like... You'd be like penalized to some extent for like switching too frequently. which would be interesting. I think I would almost prefer that, so it would kind of push people to like stay on longer. And I actually think that that's probably the fastest way to do it. I think doing anything other than like maybe switching every 10 on the bike and then like switching halfway through on the dumbbells, but like doing the muscle ups and all the other stuff, you just kind of got to go unbroken on that if you want to get a good time.
See, my initial reaction to that would be that we have three people competing, so then you just have one person do
each thing.
You know,
but if Nathan bike, you were thruster and I muscle up.
Yeah, you know, because I could do those thrusters unbroken. You could do your muscle ups unbroken.
Nathan can bike like a madman.
Yeah, see, so as long as there's no burpees that him and I have to rock, paper, scissors for, I think we'll be okay.
The other one was, it was some sort of AMRAP. I can't remember how long it was, but it was burpee. It was toes to bar, burpees over the partner, and sandbag shuttle sprint with, I think it was like 60 yards with a 100-pound sandbag, or like D-ball or something like that. 100 pounds for the guys. I think it was 70 for the ladies, but
it's like 100 pounds.
But it was burpees over the partner. And I was thinking, oh, you and Carson are much faster than me at burpees, but if it's lengthwise, then I'll have to do the burpees because I'm too tall.
We're gonna do him over Nathan because he's the shortest.
He's shorter, yeah.
Shout out to medium-sized guys like me.
So.
That'll be fun.
Yeah, those are two of the events. I'm sure there's going to be a max lift in there. We were talking about it today at the noon class, so I hope it's not a snatch.
I hope it's a bench.
If it's a bench, we could do really well. Ooh. I think if it was like a back squat, that would probably be our best bet.
I think back squat would be...
Or like a clean.
Yeah, I don't know how Nathan lifts because I've only worked out with him, I think, twice my whole life. But I think that a snatch would be a little ugly on my side of the table, that is. I think any sort of like power lift, you know, bench, deadlift, back squat, even possibly like a front squat, I think we'd do really well on. But yeah, that'd be interesting to see what comes up, and it's always fun to do something.
Those are our refrigerator.
Oh. But it's always fun, you know. I haven't done a competition. I've done one CrossFit competition in my entire life.
That was my follow-up question. What is your experience in a CrossFit competition?
So aside from the Open, because that was kind of, you know, it was Spencer and I kind of duking it out and saying, hey, what'd you get? I need to redo this workout. What'd you get? I have done one my sophomore year of college. For anybody listening who knows of Webfoot CrossFit, I got talked into it by the guy running it over there at the U of O. And it was just a one-day thing. There was 3 workout. It was partners, so there was teams of 2, and it was 3 individual workouts. And depending on what place you were in, you can make the 4th championship workout. And there was 2 guys teams and 2 girls teams who made it into that part. So basically, you had to get top 2. And that was actually pretty cool because we got to use the entire University of Oregon. So we used like all of the turfs outside. We got to use the box. Cool. We used the hills that they have for around campus over there by the rec. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. There was some stuff on there that was definitely challenging. And actually, my buddy and I who did it, neither of us knew how to do butterfly pull-ups, and that was the reason why we lost. We got second place because we had to do 50 pull-ups apiece, and we did 50 strict pull-ups because neither of us knew how to butterfly them. And for those of you who never seen a strict pull-up versus a butterfly pull-up, butterfly pull-ups are a lot faster and easier. So that's my experience. So I'm excited to have a little bit more CrossFit knowledge this go around and have some guys who are some dogs, you know, to get after it. I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, we will. I think we'll have a good shot at doing pretty well in this one. Although I don't know, because my only other time doing a CrossFit competition was, when was that? I don't remember. I think it was back in 2018, 2019. And I did the Tracktown Smackdown.
Oh, I've been wanting to do that. I want to do one of those.
And it was with Taylor and Byron, who You know Byron, kind of. You've seen him. You've met him.
Yeah.
You don't know Taylor. Taylor was a very fit dude.
Heard the dude kick some booty.
Yeah, he was a fit kid. And I thought that we would do well, but we did not. But we had a good time.
Well, that's good. Stage fright? Is that what happened?
No. We were moving fast and everything. We just didn't move as fast as some of the other people, which I think is I don't know how. Like, I think we'll do well. I think we'll do really well in this competition, but it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if we'll get first, but I think it would be interesting to see if we could possibly make it on the podium, because it's just a whole different monster competing in person. You know?
Oh yeah.
I might go buy some of those compression boots before we go out there.
Oh, the full leg ones?
Yeah.
Ooh,
we could just wear those in between the...
Could we, like, fit 2 people into one so it's double the compression?
I don't think so.
Oh. That's
yeah. So they do have a size like that for people that are bigger. They call them the power size. I'm not kidding.
That's so politically correct. I love it.
It's like, I was reading the things, so I was trying to figure out what size to get, because the mediums are $700. The large and the small are both like $1,500.
Why are the mediums
It's like almost
so much
double
cheaper?
the price. I don't know. I think they probably had one standard size.
Oh.
And then they're like now starting to manufacture the different sizes, and so their cost of production is probably higher.
Right.
I don't know why. I would imagine that's probably why.
From a business standpoint, makes sense.
But yeah, and it was like, well, if you're over this weight, I forget what the threshold was, but it was like if it was like a thigh circumference or something like that, then you should get our power size.
Huh.
Yeah.
Well,
I did not fit into that category.
Yeah, I'm not.
My legs are skinny.
Mine are big, but not power size big.
I've been working hard to get them look less like a newborn giraffe, but
more like a penne pasta.
it was a frivolous and Sisyphean task, I would say. I was told by a physical therapist my foot started hurting, and David, one of my beloved members here, who I run with, my foot started hurting when I started running with him. He said, you need to get smaller calves. And that, first of all, it triggered me.
Wow.
Or you need to get bigger calves. Sorry.
I was like, wow, that's a compliment.
He said, you need to get bigger calves. Then you get stronger. And I was like, oh no, I'm pretty strong. You know, like I can lift a lot of weight. And he was like, do a calf raise. And I was like doing calf raises. And he was like, no, but do a real one. And I was like, this is a real one. And he was like, no. And that hurt me deep down inside in a place I didn't know I could be hurt.
It's always good to be humbled like that, though.
Yeah.
You know?
So.
One more note on that competition. I have a personal chef, aka my mom, who can meal prep for us. So I'll let her know.
That's amazing.
And then we'll meal prep for everything except for the food after, because we should go get food after.
We're going to go to a bar after.
Yeah, to agree more kombucha.
We're going to go to a kombucha bar, and a salad bar is what I meant by bar.
Yeah.
And eat something healthy.
Right. Definitely,
yes.
like some vegan chicken wings and some vegan nachos.
Yeah.
And going back to the keto acidosis thing, mostly keto or keto also.
Oh, man, I can't wait. I'm going to do a podcast on keto.
I know how you feel about keto.
Talk about how dumb it is.
We love carbs in this gym.
We love carbs here. We've got carbs left and right here at Evviva. We're big carbivores.
Yeah, we're just...
Yeah.
I'll eat carbs till I die. Carbs will probably be the reason I die, but that's okay.
Probably me too. Yeah. Okay, well, I think thus we conclude our...
Wow.
I already asked you the funny questions. I thought they were just more like short jokes. It was the one about Josh Bridges. Have you had any of his coffee?
Yeah, actually, I have had 3 of his coffees.
Are they good?
The Reagan, God, I hate to hate on my guy.
So no, they kind of suck.
No, they just
like you'd rather go to Dark Pine.
Yeah, the beans, like when you get a good bag of coffee beans, you know it's good because there's a little moisture. Like you don't want them soaked because then it gums up your burr grinder. For those of you who are into coffee and grind your own coffee, you want your beans to be like a medium moisture level. You know, you want them to not be so dry that you touch them and your skin immediately just like cracks, but like. You know, you want them to be a little wet. Yeah, no, these ones from Josh Bridges, like I hate to say it, man, but like they need a little bit more moisture. They're not very fresh.
So, yeah, he's drying his beans out too much.
But, I mean, that could be my problem. That maybe I'm just getting bottom of the barrel beans. You know, and I'm ordering at the wrong time.
Maybe
so
you got the wrong batch.
Yeah, but their merch is awesome. I do love their shirts. I have a patch on my weighted vest.
Good dudes.
They're great merch. So
I wonder what happened between him and Rich.
Oh, do they not like each other anymore? Maybe it's because Rich and Matt became friends again, or not friends. They shook hands. I wouldn't say they're friends, but they squashed their beef.
But Matt's friends with Josh because they have that podcast with Savon.
But maybe there's a jealousy thing there.
Maybe. I don't know. All I heard, one of those podcasts, someone said something and Josh said, "Don't go into business with your friends."
Whoa.
And Savon was like, "What does this have to do with Good Dudes Coffee?" He's like, "I'm not going to talk about it, but just saying."
Well, I mean,
you should go into business with a business partner, not your friends. So,
who
was the other person in that? It was Dan Bailey, wasn't it? That guy kind of like fell off the face.
Was it Dan Bailey? I like Dan Bailey. He always posts like ridiculously hard workouts, and he's like, "Oh, this was kind of a challenge."
Good active recovery.
And it was like 50 bar muscle ups, 30 ring muscle ups, and then like 70 squat snatches at like 175. And I'm like, dude, what?
Yeah, he works out in his garage at like 5 a.m.
Dude,
in like in the freezing cold.
He does the barn gym, which is sick, actually. I really do enjoy that. That's the dream of my life. Except for the problem is that I've come to realize is that I I've spent the last like 4 years wanting a home gym. And then I started coming to Evviva, and then I realized that I like coming here more than I like going home.
The home gym kind of is like, it gets sad at the home.
It's quiet.
It gets hard. We might start a second location. Evviva might. That's a Deerhorn location.
A Deerhorn?
Mm-hmm. Paul and Bethany bought a house out there, and it has a big horse barn. So, and they think they're going to rent horse stalls.
Little do they know, we're going to go do some demo.
We're going
to put it.
They're going to get there to move in. And there's going to be a fully outfitted Rogue home gym out in their barn.
There will be a horse barn, but those horses are.
There's going to be a huge neon.
Whoa.
Evviva sign.
You're still on this neon Evviva sign
thing? Makes it's so bright them and their children cannot sleep.
I think it
because I need that. I need it's pretty far up Deerhorn, but I need people on 126 to be able to see the light.
I think
from it.
Well, that's
I want a plane to see it and be distracted. I'm not going to say crash, though. That will put me on a list.
Yeah, we don't talk about plane crashes here.
We're
talking about
I did have one more comment, and then we're going to sign off.
Oh, I have one more, too.
We're almost... Okay, we got one more comment each, and then we're cutting it off. I know what we're going to spend the prize money on. It's not going to be us.
Which prize money? The one from the competition?
Yeah. Without saying the name of anything in particular, I will just say that if you're driving down 105 from Springfield to Eugene... There's a really big billboard right on the 105 exit to get onto I-5 North. And there's a big billboard. We're going to put an Evviva billboard there. I'm going to pay to put an ad up there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I like that. I support it.
Yeah.
My comment is, I don't know how to say this, but make sure that your programming is, up to date. I'm just going to leave it at that. Up to date, not 1 day behind, but up to date. So
it will be. It will be.
Just gonna leave it there.
Okay.
If you know, you know.
Alrighty.
How to sneak my dig in. That's all.
Good.
It's probably gonna get edited out, but that's fine.
It might be. It might be a little too obvious.
I don't think so. You gotta be there. You had to be there.
I don't want there to be like an if you know, you know thing.
I don't know.
I don't want this to feel like people are like not part of the club,
Oh, everybody knows.
And people know.
I feel like if you don't know by now, you should know.
If you don't know, just text me. I'll tell you.
Yeah, Spencer's pretty good at that. I'll tell you a lot of things.
Okay, well, this concludes our first episode of the CrossFit Evviva podcast. Looks like we'll do it again next week. Cool. Maybe Carson will be my co-host.
I think that'd be fun. I can sit in the background.
He's the only person I know that can consistently come when I want him to.
Well, actually, yeah.
With no...
Wait a minute.
Come to the gym when I want him to. And because everyone else is like a working professional, and they're like, I don't want to come hang out with you at 6:30 at night to film a podcast.
I will.
But Carson will do it. And so if we can just coerce people into coming and hanging out with us, then like that might work better.
I think it would be really fun if we did like a CrossFit Evviva late night. You know, on like a Friday night, and then we just get whoever wants to stay, and then we have a big chat.
And we drink about kombucha.
Yes. And
we talk about things.
Yeah, and I think we could get a lot of...
I think that would be hilarious. I think that's actually...
I think that'd be so funny.
We should do one like once a month, though.
Yeah, it has to be like a special edition.
Yeah.
You know?
We can't do that every time.
Yeah.
Then it would just be a bunch of drunk CrossFitters, and that would be
and everybody, we'd be alcoholics. I mean, kombucha-holics. But, cool.
So, all right, and cut.